Morning, everybody. So we're going to be working on a VTP lab here today in our VRL instance. I was noticing a couple of issues while I was trying to run through the labs myself, and it appears that there is a bug that the VLANs do not like to be created upon a simulation starting up. It just seems to be a bug with VRL, but speaking to Brian McGahan, who actually apparently fixed the issue. He did a script that should do an auto-generate the VLANs after the simulation comes up. So I'm actually going to go ahead and test that out this morning. So, but first I've got to do some changes here. So we're going to get rid of this repository, and we're going to add a new one. Do it under guest. I think I might have missed. I think I might have failed to add guest. Cannot parse guest. Oh. Wanted to add the path. All right, so we'll re-add it. No password. All right, everything's made, so everything came in pretty well. So let's go ahead and start a simulation. Let's do. For this lab, we'll do the, it was the initial, no, it's the, sorry, LAN switching initial VTP. So we'll go ahead and launch that now. Keep all the original settings. We should see the network start to come up. So we'll go ahead and just kind of show a visualization of what we're trying to do. And I'll go ahead and bring up the lab that we're trying to accomplish here. You guys won't see me bring it up on the other screen, but just right now, I'm just bringing up the workbook to kind of go over the lab that we're trying to do. So, but you should see that now the links are starting to go from red to green. So we've got our nodes coming online. And something that I have learned is that on our Super Putty here, the ports that I've configured for these switches are just associated with a specific simulation. So when I do a new topology, the port numbers for the telnet changes. That's just part of the configuration. I haven't figured out a way to create a static map for that yet, but for right now we can just use telnet on the live visualization here on the VRL. So we're going to do a VTP pruning lab today. It's pretty simple. Let me go ahead and just drag this over so you guys can see it. We're just going to make sure that switch 1 is in VTP client mode. All the switches have already been configured for the VTP domain CCIE. And then we need to do an enable VTP pruning in the layer 2 network to make sure that broadcast replication is minimized. So don't need to really go into VTP pruning too much. You guys should know what it is already. It's just preventing broadcasts being sent down to switches that don't have any knowledge or don't have any ports associated with a VLAN that the broadcast needs to go out. So sort of a no-brainer that you need to configure that. But so Brian said that he did a delay script where after the simulation comes up, then it would implement the VLANs. So switch 2 is actually the VTP server, so we're actually going to check this out just to make sure if it actually did come up or not. So as you see, it's still going through the process of bringing up the initial bringing up the switch. So, but we'll just kind of watch it boot. And I'm kind of curious if we're going to see the script run. So let's check that out as well. Alright, so the switch is online, so let's see if it worked. And I still do not see the VLANs. So that did not actually work. Well, let's see the VTP status real quick. So this is a server. It is part of the CCIE domain, but we're missing several VLANs that are supposed to be set up. So I just want to check this real quick. So here's the change that he made to. That was the change he made to the spanning tree. Initial VTP as well. I actually don't see it. Because here's the cron job that he's talking about that he ran to add the VLANs. So maybe he just didn't do it for all of the different. Maybe he didn't do it for the VTP part because I don't see the cron job policy on here. So, let's see if I might be able to. All right, so that's in the spanning tree one. So we really won't. I guess we'll load that one up. But for right now, let's just worry about this lab. So we're just gonna have to create the VLANs ourselves. That's not a big deal. So right now, I'm just trying to find out the actual configuration for the part here. So. And it was actually all of these right here. So let's just go ahead and add these VLANs. So, oop. It's gonna let me. I don't think it will. So let's just go ahead and create a couple of let's create the VLANs that are supposed to be associated on this trunk. Or in this domain, sorry. 79, 123, 146. Put spaces in between. Forgot you shouldn't. When you're typing an email, you put spaces, but when you're typing CLI, you don't really need to do it. So, okay. So now we've entered the VLANs in. So now let's check the. All right, so all the VLANs are created currently right now. So we need to make sure that switch 1 is in VTP client mode. So we'll bring up the client here. Go back to our live visualization. We'll bring up switch 1. And we need to check VTP status. So right now, switch 1 is showing as a client. So with that, we should be able to see the VLANs that we just created. And we have not. Okay. So again, nothing's really scripted here, so we like to do things on the fly here. So we'll go ahead and bring this up as well. I think the other part that might be wrong here, and actually we'll find out really quickly why. Let's show a trunk, and that would be why. So let's go back to the initial configuration here. I might have mentioned in a different video that the interfaces that are associated with the INE labs are a little bit different than how they are in the VRL labs. So, and I'll show you. So they made interfaces ID with that shows a correct gig, but they don't seem to want to load up correctly. So, and as you see right here, that's the reason why, I bet. So we'll go ahead and just change that on the switch. So, bring up switch 1 here. We'll do a static. Oh, forgot to do the interface here. So config T will do INT range GI 01 to 2 or 3 and GI 10 to 2. And then we'll do the switch port command. Alright, so everything is trunking right now. Let's check on switch 2 here, because we'll probably end up having to do the same thing. Status. Alright, so we show that the trunk is working now. So now if we go over to, so we do see the different number of VLANs. So if we do a show VLAN database, then we should have all the different VLANs. So, all right. Now what we need to do is, so we have, let me bring this back over. We've got the, sorry, you guys saw the answer there. All switches have been pre-configured, so I check to make sure that the SW1 is in VTP client mode. Then we have to enable VTP pruning in the layer 2 network. So what we'll do is, first I want to show you what the I want to show you what the output of the show interface trunk right now is before we enable the pruning, and that is actually done on the VTP server. So right now we've got all these VLANs that are being broadcasted across the tunneling protocol, and but what we see here is that for the VLANs, we don't have any interfaces that are associated with any of these VLANs. And let's just say, for instance, that we don't plan on having any interfaces. So if something goes across a broadcast of 146, that means that on switch 1, even though there's no device on 146, no port associated with it, it's still going to get the broadcast. So there's going to be extra traffic on your network. So that's why we have to go to switch 2 here, and that is why we enable VTP pruning. So what will happen now is you will check to see that VLAN's in forwarding state and not pruned. It will actually change the output. So now when we do a show INT trunk, you'll notice here that VLANs in spanning tree forwarding state are not pruned. So now across all of the interfaces that are not trunks, the only one that is not pruned is VLAN 1, because obviously that's the default. But then it actually shows here that these VLANs are not being pruned. Well, why is that? That's because it's a trunk interface. So the VLANs will still naturally come across because it's a VTP. So that is the end of this lab, and just a check on the changes that Brian made for the VLAN. So apparently he didn't do it for this lab, but for the spanning tree labs he did. So we'll check that out. But that's the end for this lab, and we'll see you guys later.